What's up, guys? Welcome back to Gabe Miller Music. Today we're going to do a making of video, but a bit of a different style of a making of video. So whereas the normal making of video, just go into the screen capture and Logic Pro and show you kind of looking back on it what I did, this time I'm going to give you more look into the creative process that I went through to make a song, because at the point of this filming I have not finished the song. What is today? Today is April 29th, 2015, and I just got done shooting the making of video for the Influence EP. Actually, I just finished that 5 minutes ago, and decided to do this while I had some time. So let's just jump right in. So I started off the track from a bass loop, actually, because needed some inspiration, wanted to kind of get my creative juices going, and needed inspiration. I was kind of scrapped for ideas, so I pulled in this bass loop, and that sounded like this. And right from the second I heard it, I kind of already started thinking of direction I could go with it, and so I brought it into the DAW, and once again, this is about a week ago. Brought it into the DAW and spent about an hour getting all the drums going in kind of in a way I liked. So I start off with a kick and snare. And at that point, I got the brilliant idea to low pass the bass and make it kind of more of a deep house style track. A little less, in your face, and a little more chill, a little more laid back, a little more kind of a groove, more than just pounding. So I put a high cut filter on the bass, and that immediately started getting the vibe I was going for. I was like, oh, that's sick. So I started layering in percussion, and I played a lot of it in my MIDI keyboard, just going through patches on Ultra Beat, and had a lot of swing, a lot of kind of groove to it. And so I spent about 2 hours getting in all the percussion and tweaking the bass to get the way I wanted it to sound, and did a quick rough mix, and so I ended up with this 4-bar loop, and this is what that sounded like. And once I got the percussion all locked in, I was really happy with it. I was kind of, feeling creative, so I started to layer some other elements, anticipating that I'd need to develop this loop into a full song. And I want to have a lot of melodic elements to be able to come in and out and really add interest to the track, and so I just started adding stuff willy-nilly, just kind of whatever I felt like, I just added it. And once I worked on that for maybe half an hour, I'd say, probably about a half an hour, I'd worked on that. This is what it ended up sounding like. Alright, now fast forward to the present day, today. I finished that, and I was like, alright, this is definitely going somewhere. I'm definitely gonna develop this into a full track. I'm really digging this. And so I actually put the track to rest for about a week, and said, okay, I'll come back to it when I'm fresh, with fresh ears, so I can quickly identify any problems with it. Because when you're in the heat of like a really, you're creative and it's just, oh, I'm so excited, everything sounds awesome, and you tend to not notice issues in the mix, issues with the sound, issues with even the idea. And so I wanted to come back where I could be a little more objective and fresh. So I came back today and went back and listened to it, and I was like, oh, okay, I still like the general idea, but there's some stuff that needs tweaking. So a few things that I did. I spent a few hours working on this. Among other things, I made the bass mono, so I'll play what I have so far, as of today, in a little bit. So I, among other things, made the bass mono because the original loop was very wide, and once it was high cut, it sounded kind of weird, and I noticed that jumped out at me immediately when I came back to listen to it. So I made it mono and really tweaked with the settings, tweaked with the level of the bass to really get it right. One of the other major things I did was the kick was never quite right in the original track, and it kind of stuck out and sounded like it was just kind of pasted on there. It didn't fit. But I liked the punchiness of it. I liked that, and I liked where it was going. It was just something about it was wrong. And so I actually went and listened to some reference tracks. I pulled up some of deadmau5's earlier work, his second album. I went and listened to. It's got a kind of stuff in that vibe that I was going for, and so I listened to some of that and really tried to critically listen to hear what was he doing with his kick drums. Why did they sound so right and mine sounded so out of place? And so what I ended up doing actually was I did some EQ to the kick, so I cut a bit of the high end because it was a little too snappy, and then did a little boost on the bass. But the major thing I did though was I used this, it's basically a transient shaper plugin, and the kick had kind of, had the snappy attack, and then it had this kind of long tail, which you hear that in the thing I just played a little while ago. So you hear that, and so it had this long tail. And so what I did was I basically had it fade out faster, so it cuts off a lot of that tail. So the kick it's much faster and more punchy, and less kind of and more of a kind of sound. And that went a long way in getting the sound that I was after. And then I spent a little more time adjusting the level. And so at this point, I had been working with the stuff with all the melody elements muted. So I just had just the drums, percussion, and bass. And that was all I had working with. And so by now I'm feeling very happy with this. I went back and compared it to a couple of deadmau5 tracks again. Not to imitate his sound, but just to see, for the technical skill of it, does my kick drum have the right sound to it that, compared to his, is there enough bass or is there too much bass or something? So once I had satisfied myself that the mix of the drums, bass, and percussion was sounding a way that I really, at the moment, really like, I'll probably come back tomorrow and make even more tweaks. But at this point, I'm very satisfied with the sound. And so that's what this sounds like right here. And so at that point, once I got that the way I was locked in, I'm happy with that. So, and then I came in and revisited the melody stuff. And so this is where I am right now. I'm going to go back and probably redo a lot of the melody stuff. I'm not sure how much, but that's what I'm planning on doing. We'll see. So I just added this new element, this little pluck thing, this little it's like a little metallic percussion is the name of the track on here, and it's like this kind of little metal kunk 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 playing this cool offbeat thing, and I am really happy with the way that's sounding. So that's probably going to stay in, and then for most of the melodic stuff, maybe even all of it, I'm just going to completely jettison. A lot of it's just not good. So definitely the little high is going away, and then probably the kind of loud bass probably go away. Or at this point though, I'm going to keep it and maybe just use it like in a little part of the track when it comes to arrangement, so just add some variation throughout, but I'm not sure about that. And for the pad, I'm still on the fence about that. We'll see, especially seeing as it may or may not mesh well with the little metallic percussion part. So yeah, so here's what I was talking about here. Alright, so after I did the little dunk 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 percussion element, I spent a little more time messing around with synthesizers, and eventually realized pretty much the only melodic element I needed to at least get started arranging was that little pad thing. So I made a few modifications to the pad. I added a stereo widener and a little high cut just to make it a little more muted kind of deal. And so I did that and said, what the heck, I may as well start arranging. If I find out I don't really have enough to sustain a track that's at least 3 minutes long, I'll just jettison that and then go back to the drawing board and keep adding more stuff. Well, turns out arranging was a good idea. So we have here in Logic Pro the arrangement. This track clocks in at around 3-ish minutes, which is definitely long enough. And so I'll just play a little snippet of it. So it starts off very minimal, which that was the plan from the beginning, for it to start off minimal, and that ended up working out really nicely, and then goes up in just the drums, have a little breakdown. Little drum fill I added here. This little guy right here. Just using the drum thing, and then I programmed that fill in myself. And a couple other fills. So I got some rises and falls down in here, just to, it was a basic, kind of white noise sort of deal. And then had the bass come in. Different percussion elements dropping in and out. That was one of the big keys to the arrangement really working, was going between the kind of muted bass and then the kind of heavy bass, having those kind of play and go back and forth in between each other, and then having the percussion drop in and out, and having little mini breakdowns where the kick bringing. And so not only did, and so then once I got everything all laid out, so basically what I did was I just took the 4-bar loop that I had and then duplicated it out a few gajillion times, and then just went in and just kind of felt my way through the track, deleting stuff, adding stuff back in as it felt right until I ended up with this final arrangement. And honestly, this arrangement was kind of what I had in my head, there wasn't a whole lot of, needing to feel my way through the track. Once I had the 4-bar loop, the final 4-bar loop, I kind of knew where the track was going, and so it was just kind of really figuring it out. And then I added a couple other elements, so I have this little transitional element right here. And you hear that a few times throughout the track, just kind of lightly sprinkled in there. And also have a bunch of automation. So once I got it all in blocks, and I started doing automation, so for instance, this little metallic percussion element starts off muted in a breakdown and comes in. And I had this, in this other little breakdown, I had this ride. And this is where I first introduced the melody element. And I actually did, at the moment anyway, this is going to change probably, but this little, that actually did end up making it in there, so. And then also have the output automated with a high cut, no, not a high cut, a low cut, sorry. Low cut in places to really lead into parts. So at this point, I'm really feeling the track. It's sounding pretty darn good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave this for about a week, and that's hard for me to do because I'm OCD and I want to work on it now! But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave this track alone for about a week, and then come back and just give it a full listen through, not stopping it at all, just sit on my hands, not allow myself to tweak anything, and give it a listen through once I've kind of forgotten what it sounds like, so that way I can be objective. And, as opposed to when I'm in, the excitement of creating stuff, this will be more, objective. So, I will see you guys in a week. So, I told myself that I was going to wait a week. And, of course, since I'm rather OCD while making music, I ended up not waiting a week. I waited one day. So, there was some self-control there. And, I'm actually, I guess I didn't need that much time. So, what I ended up doing now is I made a few adjustments to the mix, now that I came back and my ears were fresh today. And so made some adjustments to the mix, and also added a sub kick, and then messed with the level of the kick, because it wasn't quite doing it for me. So I actually pulled up a deadmau5 track, and that was in a similar vein and reference to see how bassy is his kick, how punchy is it, how bassy is it, how loud is it relative to everything else. And really tried to replicate that sound, except with my own track. So that's this right here. So after I got the sub kick in, I listened to it at different levels and really tried to fine-tune the volume, and I think I got that about right. And then I took a little break to rest my ears, and then came back in and added a final element that I have been kind of debating whether or not to add it, and so I said, you know what, the heck, I'll just try it. And I think I'm going to keep it. So what this is, a vocal sample saying super great, and it's got a bunch of effects on it. That comes from this meme right here, which has become sort of an in-joke between me and some of my friends, and I thought, wouldn't that be hilarious if I had a vocal sample saying that? And if deadmau5 can get away with saying 4 + 4 is 12 in a song, I can get away with saying super great in a song. So, alright, so it sounds pretty dumb right now, and it'll probably continue to sound pretty dumb, but I think it's funny, so I'll leave it in. So I have a compressor, a chorus effect, an EQ rolling off the low end, and boosting the top end a little bit. And then, so far it sounds like this. Super great. And then a pitch shift, pitching it down a bit, and a bit crusher, and that sounds like this. Super great. Now it's starting to sound like it actually sounds more EQ, and the big thing is 2 delays with this weird effect, which that's what really sold me on the effect, so. Super great. And I went, okay, that's staying in. Before I wasn't sure, but now I'm fairly sure. So now I got Alright, so today is May the 4th, and so I've been working on this track for about a week now, and I think I'm done with this song. I put it on my iPod this morning and listened to it a couple times throughout the day in different listening environments on earbuds and different listening environments, and I'm very, very happy with it. So at least for now, I'm going to go ahead and call it done. And so yeah, that was about a week of working on the song, and that's pretty typical length for me to finish a song. And so I got a few weeks before I'm going to release this, possibly even a month or two before I'm going to release this. So I'll probably put it down for a while and then come back and listen to it a couple times and see if there's anything else I want to change. But for now, it's done. So, yeah.